Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So how many folks in the call missed the demo on Friday? Or, sorry, 2 days ago, excuse me, on Wednesday. Okay, so everyone saw the demo, correct?
Yes.
Great. Okay. You know, the purpose of today's call is to just kind of review any further questions you have or delve into other topics related to Alma. And, you know, we'll try to answer them the best we can. We don't have all the answers. But you know, we've got a good sense of, you know, how things will unfold over the next 5 to 6 months. So I guess I will just open it up to questions for OLS.
There's not too many people on right now.
No, I know, right?
Yeah.
How many?
Friday morning.
It's nine. Nine. On the call.
Us, it's already 5, right?
Yeah.
And I think Kevin's having a hard time getting on. I'm going to see if I can contact him.
Okay. So can anyone chime in about what their impression of seeing the product maybe for the first time was?
This is Jacob Adler from BCC.
Hey, Jacob.
Hi. I'll say that I just had a meeting yesterday with a bunch of my colleagues here at BCC, and a few of us were at the demo, and we were talking about it to everyone else. And the thing that I think is important to keep in mind about it is that the version that we all saw is sort of coming complete with all these. I think the technical term is that all these widgets and kind of all the, you know, the various add-ons that Ex Libris is able to put into the various information screens that Alma embodies. So, and as a colleague of mine pointed out, each institution is going to have their own particular version or iteration of all that software, and it'll sort of tailored to their own particular institutional needs. And so I think that may be important to keep in mind going forward, is that, first of all, that in terms of how its functionality will actually play out. And secondly, that at least in my own opinion, I suppose, that the demonstration I think was useful, but only up to a point, since I think that most of us would probably agree by saying that the system, we won't really understand the system until we get to interact with it personally. So I think that there's, but I'm cautiously optimistic about it. It does seem to have a fairly intuitive user interface just in terms of functionality. But we'll see going forward. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Anyone else? And Jacob, I'll respond to that too. And I guess I can respond now. It's right. So, you know, again, this is a very high level look. I think that for folks who've never seen what a system looks like, this was an opportunity to do so. You know, and as far as, you know, how your staff interface will look, well, that will depend on A, your institution, and B, your role. But, you know, I would be optimistic, because this is running across the largest consortium in the world right now. Cal State, SUNY, I mean, you name it, Wisconsin, Georgia. So the vendor has a very, very solid grasp of what the requirements are for the product. And, I think for some of us, they've never really seen a modern administrative interface outside of Alma. So, we feel good about what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
I see. Thank you.
Sure, sure. Any other comments from anyone? Questions, concerns?
Actually, Greg, hi, it's Nancy.
Hi.
I know this question had come up at the actual demo, and the presenter didn't know the answer because these were things that were as per our license, and she didn't know what our agreement was. And someone had asked about the historical data, like how much of our historical data is going to be able to, come over when we implement the system. And I hadn't known the answer to that. So you explained it to me well yesterday, and I just thought maybe someone else would be interested in that because it wasn't answered. We didn't have an answer at the at the demo.
It's supposed to be all our data.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be all of our data. But when we get the data load in the spring, we should look at it, because what I've told by other libraries is that all of your data is there, but it doesn't necessarily appear the way you expect it to appear. So we're going to have to look at it just to be sure that it's in a way that we understand it and in a format that we, that's usable for us as CUNY libraries. And if there's something that you need to know that's not there, we're going to need to identify it and report on it. So, for example, many times the vendor order change log doesn't get brought over because that's just not part of the migration. Maybe you don't need it. Other libraries have exported it into reports. Maybe they decide months later they just don't use it at all, so we don't need to bring it with us. But if there's something we need, we should look to bring it over. But generally, acquisitions data, circulation data, that's supposed to be there. So.
Yeah, and other systems haven't had this issue. Our data is probably, and we've been working, feverishly over the past 12 months to make sure that, our data is prepped for this migration, and we're in a very, very good spot. So, our contract says all the data is going to come over, and let's assume it's all going to be there. And of course, we'll do some very, very, very detailed validation of the data, but our data is in really good shape, and the mechanisms that migrate the data are tried and tested. So I don't really anticipate any issues.
The other thing to keep in mind is other libraries have said they pick the option that they do not bring their acquisitions data or they do not bring their course reserve data. It's a choice that libraries have made ahead of time. When I say libraries, I mean outside of CUNY. But CUNY, we opted, yes, we do want to bring the data, acquisitions data, course reserve data over. So just keep that in mind when you hear other libraries say, oh, we don't have our such and such data. It may be just that they didn't opt to preserve it. The other thing I would say to people, again, is make sure that you hold on to your reports. You would think, well, why do we have to do that? We know to do that. Well, you say that, but I still get requests from people from time to time asking about reports that were produced, but they don't have the copy of it. So if it's an essential report, it's incumbent on the campus library to make sure that you have that report. And if you don't have it, then let me know at the time that we're producing these reports, not in the future when it's too late.
Good point, Kevin.
I think there's a question in the chat.
Yeah. One sec here. Can somebody read that question? I'm sorry, I can't get to it from here.
I can read it aloud if you want.
Go ahead.
Okay. From Jay Mellone, any concerns about Ex Libris supporting us enough in this initial transfer, given that they are supporting the large library systems already that you note? Can we assume they are flexible as an org, I'm assuming that's short for organization, and will add resources on an as-needed basis as their client base grows?
I can answer that. Yeah, Ex Libris has been able to scale up to do the biggest jobs, they've encountered. The team is already in place for us, so it's already been allocated. They're winding down from SUNY and from Harvard. So we're very confident that their implementation plan will be staffed accordingly. Their implementation team has a very, very, very high reputation. So Jim, as with our Primo implementation, Ex Libris was not an obstacle. It was not a bottleneck. We were very happy with that, and to date, we're very happy with what we have. And me having personal relationships in the implementation side at Ex Libris, I'm confident that their best people will be working with us.
Yeah, and actually here at OLS, we've already been working with them somewhat in the onboarding phase, and they've been very good. And we've had a lot of contact with them, and even this early before the actual implementation, I feel very confident, with their support.
And also for sorry.
I was going to say, plus also we're getting the people that they're getting to support us are now more experienced because they have survived larger consortia that are more complex than we. They're much more complex than we are in terms of the technical implementation. So those people that are experienced with that, and when I say those people, I mean those Ex Libris staff who are experienced in that way are now coming to us, and so for us, it's actually in a sense easier for them to take us on. So that's just to our benefit.
Yeah, and you'll get a better sense of that when the kickoff occurs. You'll meet all the players, and we sat in on SUNY's kickoff, which is essentially Ex Libris talking about the process and their role in making the whole endeavor a success. And I think people will be impressed when they see them in the flesh and the plan is laid out. And that's not to say we don't expect any challenges. But between OLS and Ex Libris and you all, we're very confident that this is going to be a total success. Between OLS and Ex Libris, that's a very strong support team. Well, if there are no further questions, I think that we can probably just wind the call down. Thanks everyone for participating, and if you have any questions come to mind, send them to me or send them to Kevin or send them to your usual contact at OLS, and we'll answer them.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Take care,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Bye.
Bye.